I'm Paul here. Welcome back to another Cardano video. And today, well, we're going a bit cross-chain today. I'm having Pete back on from Blueshift to talk about the newest index they have. Also, 3 projects that are building on Cardano and looking cross-chain too. 3 projects that I haven't had on the channel before. So it's going to be great to dive into a bit of what they're doing and how they're interacting with the Blueshift Cardano, or the Blueshift Startup Index for Cardano. So I'm going to go straight over to Pete. Most people will be familiar. He's been on for a few videos now at this point. Pete, I'm going to let you go through what Blueshift is, what the index is, and then we're going to go through all of the list of people that we have here for the different projects. So Pete, over to you.
All right. So Blueshift, for those that don't know, it's a decentralized exchange, portfolio-based decentralized exchange with cross-chain capabilities. Initially launched on Milkometer C1, that's a fantastic sidechain for Cardano. And we've been growing, developing, and building all sorts of really cool tech over on that side and connecting with other chains. So we're connected now with Milkometer C1, Algorand A1, Carver, and Polygon. So now you can do a cross-chain swap between Polygon, swap your Matic out there because no one wants Matic, over for Cardano native assets. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring that level of interoperability over to Cardano, and we're doing that through those indexes. And we've had that Cardano index made up of Copy, Wi-Fi, NMaker, and Blues, and that's been around for just over a year now. And now we're forming this brand new one, the Cardano Startup Index, of these new emerging projects that are building on Cardano and doing some really innovative, really cool things, and wanting to go cross-chain as well. So we've brought in Paribus, so we've got some really cool utility coming out of there. We've got Revuto, which are bringing in all this really cool subscription stuff, and we want to take them cross-chain and make sure they get out there in the ecosystem along with all these projects. And then also NEWM, which we've come up some really cool utilities, but I'll let Ryan drop that one later on in this interview. So we've got some really cool utility coming up. We can't wait for this Cardano Startup Index to come out. We're almost there. We're just waiting for a few more things to happen. And then once all the things have been ticked and ready to go, we're going to have a brand new index up and running.
Nice. Great to see more projects building. And look, cross-chain, it's great to see the interoperability as well as allowing people outside of Cardano to get access to Cardano native assets without having to come into Cardano first. Obviously, we want to see them come in eventually, but it allows liquidity to go both ways on it. So it allows liquidity to come in as well. So we will kick it off with the next project with Deniz from Paribus. Do you want to give an introduction to what Paribus is, and then we'll get into a bit about why you are involved with this index?
Sure. So Paribus is a cross-chain borrowing and lending platform. It's effectively a DeFi platform, which you have obviously come across and used, such as Compound, RV, etc. But we try to take it one step above that, and we try to open up various collaterals as a way to borrow against them. So we do not only support the conventional crypto assets such as ADA, ETH, etc. as a collateral, but we're now transitioning into our USP phase where we start supporting NFTs as a collateral, LP tokens as a collateral, and then we partnered up with a RWA company who tokenizes real world assets. So we will support RWA tokens, and eventually our mission and our goal is to unlock the liquidity that is locked in these exotic assets, which we call them, so that you as an asset owner have access to liquidity whenever you want without actually having to sell it outright. So Paribus has started its journey on the Cardano side, trying to build for the KEVM, but then that got shelved. So now we're switching over to Milkometer as the next sort of unofficial side chain for Cardano. And we want to sort of bridge the liquidity fragment. So we want to address the liquidity fragmentation across the space, which is why we believe Milkometer is a key chain for us and for obviously the rest of the projects here. And yeah, that's effectively us in a nutshell.
Nice, thanks for that. I have a few questions in around Paribus and that, but I'm going to make sure I go through all the projects first, and we might come back to some of the more general questions about different chains that different projects are on and how they're working on each. Next up, Ryan with NEWM. It's a project that lots of people are probably familiar with. We're probably overdue an interview at this point, but Ryan, can you give the introduction to NEWM and what you guys are working on there?
Yeah, so I'm Ryan, co-founder, co-CEO of NEWM. Short answer is we're a decentralized music ecosystem. We're doing a couple of things. We're doing decentralized streaming. We have ticketing. We have governance for the on-platform parameters, which we can talk about later. And some of the big things we're doing right now is distribution and fractionalization of IP, music IP, specifically streaming royalties right now. And so we're actually getting ready to release our first in-house product, which is a literal blockchain-powered distribution service that connects Web 2 to Web 3. So we're essentially bringing on-chain royalties from streaming onto the blockchain in a fractionalized and tokenized manner. So that's currently what we're about to bring to market, but it's a big picture, lots of things to cover in all due time. So
nice. And we will hand it over to Vex with Revuto then to give the introduction, and then I'm going to come back on each of the individual projects and how you guys are using the index then. So Vex, very welcome on the channel too. If you want to give the introduction to Revuto and what you guys are all about.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, my name is Vex. I'm CEO and the founder of Revuto. Thank you for having me here. It's interesting that you said that this is a startup English for emerging projects on Cardano. We are emerging now for almost 2.5 years, if not even more. So hopefully we're gonna emerge next year. So what we do at Revuto, we are actually building the mobile app, helping people to better manage their subscription payments. And we are doing that by leveraging Web3 technology to help people save money and even earn money when paying for their services. We are more leaning towards non-crypto, I would say, non-crypto savvy users, because we want to invite them to world of Web3 or crypto through those easy to use features built on blockchains. So for instance, we have features like stake to subscribe, which is helping people to save money by not paying directly or spending their money for paying their subscriptions. In that case, they rather invest in crypto and use staking rewards to pay those monthly subscription expenses. Then we have a cool feature called micro lending and borrowing, which is basically buy now, pay later feature in traditional sense, where people can borrow money from liquidity pools to pay for something, even though they don't have their own funds. And also we have a really nice feature for NFT. For NFTs, we call them subscription NFTs, where we allow people to prepay for certain subscriptions with us and then monetize unused subscription period by selling that NFT to others, putting it basically on the market. So in short, let's say you pay with Revuto upfront for 20 months of Netflix, and if you're after 10 months tired of Netflix, or I don't know, if you don't want to use it anymore, you can put that NFT on the market and resell those 10 months that are left connected to that subscription. But in general, I don't want to now go into all those details. Basically, yeah, we are trying to solve the real world problem with our app, and then building those cool features on Web3 should actually help people to understand what crypto is, and again, help the adoption overall of the crypto. So yeah.
Nice. I have a lot of questions coming to mind. I think what I'm going to do is try and set up interviews with each of you guys individually to go through the different questions. But I really like that model of the subscriptions and putting the NFT on it, that potentially, look, we just had Black Friday sales there. You get subscriptions really cheap then. There's a lot of opportunities there where you could buy them up at that stage. And when they go back up to full price, you could sell on the NFT to people for the account and things like that. So just things coming into mind that I love that real world use case with crypto that we're starting to see more of in this cycle, I think, where it's not just crypto and within the same circle, it's bringing in real world utilities and bringing in the outside world into it. So just on the index then, where does this fit? Or I don't know if this is for Pete or someone else, or what's the advantage to projects being a part of the index, or where does that come in?
So one of the major benefits of being a part of an index is that it gets that cross promotion of the different projects over different chains. So for example, when we start building up the Polygon index again, we'll be marketing what we've done on other ecosystems, on Cardano and Algorand, for example. So as people get to know and understand Blueshift and the idea and concept of indexes, they'll get that extra exposure over to the existing ones. So if someone was wanting to come in from different ecosystems that we're connected to and wanted some exposure and didn't want to do all the research that you need to do to find out what projects, what tokens to buy over on the Cardano ecosystem, they can look at some of these indexes, which have already been curated. We've vetted, we've gone through and spoken to all the projects. We know where they are. There's a certain amount of liquidity. We've done quantitative and quantitative analysis on everything. So all you need to do is provide liquidity for that particular index. You get exposure to all of the projects, move with price action, and then all the utility that's around it. So there's lots of benefits with indexes and advantages of being a part of it. So you can tap into the type of users that are interested in them.
Okay, nice. And so this is on Milkamada, and does that mean that the LP token, so when I get into the index, I presume I get the LP token back. Does that just sit there, or could someone on Polygon buy it, or Algorand, or is that same LP token, can it move cross-chain? So it means the project's individual native assets don't have to move across or be bridged cross-chain. Is it just the LP, or where does that work?
Yeah, that's exactly what we've done. We've started bridging we haven't started, we already have bridged the LP token of the Cardano index. So you can actually trade it on like Wi-Fi, for example, stake it there, use their platform to earn different rewards. So the LP token has lots of advantages of being able to trade. You could use it in the future on Paribus as an exotic asset. For borrowing lending on there. So, you know, we've got lots of utility that you can do with it. And of course, that means you can move it over to Polygon, or move it over to Arbitrum, different ecosystems. So you can do that easily with a Blueshift with its cross-chain capabilities.
Okay, yeah, I think that's good. It lets people get exposure, people who don't want to come in and learn the full how the wallets work within Cardano and get used to it, or in Algorand they can get access to assets in a different ecosystem without having to learn the whole ins and outs of the other ecosystem. Because we all want to see crypto going mainstream, but when you start getting into it and getting across different chains, they all work so differently. We're all involved in it now. We know how it works, we're used to it, and we can pick up another ecosystem fairly easily. But someone who's coming in new, it's just so complex to try, and you just get to learn how to use, let's say you come into MetaMask, you get used to how the EVM side works. Then you want to go to Cardano and it's like there's 6-7 different wallets and everybody tells you to use a different one. You have no idea where to go. Algorand, there's a few different wallets there, it's same thing. And it's like, where do you go, or how do you tell people to come in? So if you can give people one on-ramp and give them access to multiple different assets, let them learn in time then, so they can see how each one works or what projects they start to like. If they buy the LP to get access to the Cardano ecosystem, and they start looking more, they mightn't even know the projects initially, but then they start to look into them and start to learn which ones they want to, and maybe they come to the ecosystem fully then to get into them. And just on the projects then, I suppose, what stage are all of the projects at the minute? Start with Ryan, I suppose. Where is NEWM at the minute in terms of development or launching, or what chains are you on?
Yeah. So right now we already have a marketplace, an NFT marketplace that's just for collectibles, is what we call it. But currently we have two fun products, but the first imminent one is our music distribution service, a DSP service. That is, we're going to be directly competing with the Web 2 world, not Web 3. There is no to my knowledge, no Web3 powered distribution service right now on any chain, which I think is pretty unique. So we're competing against, like the distro kids, the CD babies of the world. And so that's what we're actually launching right now. So we're in closed beta right now. We're about to have a closed mainnet in December this month, which I guess it's the fourth now. So yeah, that's coming down the pipeline. So essentially what that means is we're utilizing Cardano native assets. So we're on Cardano right now. And then also we have some fun mobile development that's coming down the pipeline very shortly that I think anybody in any ecosystem is going to enjoy. So it's how do you consume your music NFTs? There's no good way to do that right now, I think. So we have some solutions that our mobile side is working on. So anyways, that's where we're at right now, Paul. I would say with Blueshift, I actually see two things going on here. You even hit it on the head. I say this all the time. Our direct, we have a whole bunch of different target audiences for where we're at right now, and it's going to shift over time because mainstream is the goal. But we have a very big crypto following right now too. So we're, Alex, our head of marketing, he's very aware of the user journey and that experience, and it's different for different funnels of people. And so for me, I see Blueshift working two ways. One, you hit the nail on the head as far as we don't, we can operate within any ecosystem. We're fine. We know how to go and explore wallets and do all the things and get gas if we need it, and go get, go to faucets and do all the stuff that's needed to participate. Average people don't. We need a place for them to funnel and go, ooh, like for us, I like this artist. Let me, potentially we're exploring that option of a basket of, maybe a playlist of this one artist stuff. So, but let me explore that. I get the asset. And then if I want to go into that ecosystem, I get to funnel myself deeper down the rabbit hole, right? And so for me, we're always looking for exposure. How can we gain exposure for artists? Because that's currency for them. And so we wouldn't want to limit exposure for our artists just to one blockchain. So I think that makes sense from an artist standpoint for Blueshift for us, because that gets them access to other ecosystems. Because right now, if you're on, if any other options on other chains, like SoundXYZ, Audius, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some more. I'll think of some others later, but they're all on different chains. They don't interplay. And so there's no impetus for people to go out. And I think this is going to lower some barriers to entry, and it's going to increase exposure. So I see that from a funnel perspective. That works both ways on this. So it's exciting to me, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think we need to simplify the on-ramps for people and not bombard them with someone, especially you guys that are dealing with non-Web3 entities. Like your target audience is non-Web3, and artists coming to you, if you tell them, well, anyone who wants to buy your music needs to first create their wallet, make sure they save their seed phrase, because if they lose that, they lose access to everything, and then they need to do X, Y, and Z. And then it's like, no, I think we'll just go traditional Web3. So simplifying that on-ramp, even if it's a bit centralized, I think it's fine in the beginning. Let people learn how to use it and how to get access. Then after that, like, it's all about bringing them in, give them a understanding bit by bit, and then you can onboard far more people that way.
I would love to say one thing to that. You said something, and we are of the cohort of, ooh, the tech is really cool. It's we're building the I mean, I'm not going to say protocol level, because we're not building a layer 1 blockchain, but we are building low level stuff, or of the mindset of, ooh, that's the really cool stuff. Whereas I think we're at the point now with the ecosystems that it's what feature sets are going to be built on, what experiences are going to be able to be had on top of the cool tech that enables all this stuff, right? And so, like you said, people need options, and I think we need to lower those barriers to entry for a lot of people into the space, because I mean, I've been in the space since 2014, I think, And it's very intimidating to people who, like I'll call it like my father. He didn't own a music NFT until there was a credit card payment option, because he wasn't about to go through the process and pain of how do I get ADA before I get this and all this stuff, right? So I think you guys, I think at Blueshift, it's going to be, I know you said this, but it is going to create extreme liquidity, I think. And that's that cross-chain liquidity. I think that's important.
Yeah, definitely. I had Patrick on from NMaker before, or NMKR, and we talked about that, about the credit cards. And I think they had people in crypto not happy when they started to accept credit card payments initially, but it's an on-ramp. It's a huge market that wants to get in, but doesn't want to have to go and buy crypto separately just to access the assets or whatever it is. So you have to give as many easy on-ramps as possible and teach people later on how to get deeper down the rabbit hole. Once you pique their interest, show them it's easy to use first, and then when their interest is piqued, they can learn, and they're more open to some of the failures that you're going to have when you're getting into crypto ownership.
We have one funnel for you guys, and I'll be quiet after this. I get real excited when I talk about this, because there are so many crypto projects. How do you get money on? You have to go to crypto to get money on chain. What we're doing and what we're about to turn on is we are going to, somebody that pays for their Spotify subscription, part of that money is going to make its way onto the blockchain without them ever having even touched or know about crypto. And so for us, we're about to open up the crypto space to millions of users. And I do mean that literally, because as a user journey, you go, hey, I want to pre-save this music, this song release. Hey, artist, would you like to support me more than just listening to my music? Oh, hey, now you're along the ride for a journey, because now you're actually you're partaking in, basically, we both have a financial incentive now for this to really like make it, because you're along for the ride with me. You've done more than just consume, right? You believe in me as an artist. Oh, do you want to take it a step further? Well, you should go and consume my music on NEWM, because I get paid more per stream on NEWM. And then that opens them into the entire crypto space of, oh, okay, now that you're doing everything on chain, it's tokenized. Did you know there's this entire world down the rabbit hole of all the things that you can do now that you couldn't in Web 2? And so that's something where like Blueshift plays in, because you can't, you have to get into this ecosystem before you can see. It's like Alice in Wonderland. So for us, we are literally bringing fresh liquidity onto the blockchain without people even knowing that they're doing it. And I think that's something extremely unique that we're able to do with this. So I just had to say that. You said that, Paul, and I was like, yes, it's a true statement, though.
Yeah, it's very like gaming. I think gaming is the same thing. You can bring people into Web3 in terms of NFTs and in-game stuff is NFTs. They don't even have to realize it first, but let them explore then and realize what the additional things. And moving on to Vex then, I suppose when we're talking about onboarding and interacting with non-Web 2, where is Revuto now, or what status are you guys at, or chains are you on at the minute?
Okay, thank you. So basically, Revuto is late. That's the first thing with releasing the core feature, which should happen somewhere in Q2 next year. The biggest obstacle for us was obviously launching the debit card program, which is very essential for our ecosystem, because this is how we interconnect with those services. Service providers nowadays are still not accepting crypto directly, so we need to allow people to use debit cards. In our case, those are going to be virtual debit cards, to use them with their service providers, and then we're going to allow them to use crypto assets to top up those debit cards, among other things as well. So nowadays it's really hard to launch a debit card program supporting crypto because of regulators making big pressure on service providers, which are actually issuing debit cards, and banking providers as well, because people need to understand that we are not actually the issuers of those debit cards. We work with the service providers, which are third-party services, and they're losing their licenses because people were using a lot of those debit cards to avoid, basically they call it money laundering, but avoid paying taxes when they withdraw a lot of cash by selling crypto through those debit cards on ATMs, or also buying things offline and online. So we are fighting with that, but now we are on the right path, and I believe that we should be ready to launch that feature in Q2 next year, which is gonna actually maybe be even better, because 2023 was really tough for us, and the overall engagement in crypto was really low. And although we are aiming towards non-crypto users, so far we have most of our users coming from crypto, because we started with all of this by doing the ICO. So that's it. But regarding the Blueshift, again, you said it right. We need more exposure to other people, not only to other blockchains, but also to other projects and their communities as well. So this is a great example, how we can actually interact with people from NEWM, which is, by the way, a great project. I like the use case. I still believe that in crypto we need more people which are going to be users of those great Web3 projects, not necessarily only traders or speculants or on our tokens. Because of that, we are also now building the custodial wallet. When you mentioned the wallet, we already have a non-custodial wallet within our app. We are supporting Cardano native assets, but we are looking for bigger exposure. We want to invite people holding other popular crypto assets as well. So we're gonna do that. And now being on Milkomeda is just going in the right direction. So what we are trying to do here, basically, get more people on board to hear about us, and so yeah.
Yeah, I suppose it sounds like simplify the on-ramps for people if you have your non-custodial wallet. And is that, so when someone goes through your app and creates their wallet, do they get the seed phrase initially, or is there an option just to create that wallet and retrieve the seed phrase later, or how does that side work?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So believe it or not, I know how people react. They tell not your keys, not your crypto. But believe it or not, in our situation, I'm not even sure if that's the best way to go and to tell people, keep your seed phrase safe, and then you're gonna own the crypto, because people forget about those things. And we have really a lot of issues with people forgetting about the seed phrases, losing their smartphones where they actually made the snapshot of that seed phrase or those words, and they lose that. And then we are in problem, because they say it's our fault because it's a bad user experience. But yes, we allow them to get and to save seed phrase before they create a wallet. And this is really important step, because if we don't do that, then people are not going to be doing that. People don't pay attention. They open the app, they want to use it, and then they forget about those really important things like saving a seed phrase. So we want to change that now by allowing them to have an option to use either a custodial wallet or non-custodial wallet. So there are cons and pros. Unfortunately, also there are many bad things about having a non-custodial wallet, at least in our experience, because many times the wallet it's not accessible because of, I don't know, either the congestion on the network or bad internet connection, or I don't know, nodes are not syncing with the blockchain, and then sometimes it's slow also, sending those making those transactions, either they're gonna appear on our front end fast or not, and things like that. So yeah, I wouldn't say, again, for Revuto, the most important thing is actually the user experience of the app. And we are more leaning towards that like Web 2 approach, still building on the blockchain and offering those cool features. But in the end, things need to be very, very simple for our users.
Yeah, I think it's a journey that people go on. And for me, eventually you want people to get to hardware wallets where for anything that's a long-term hold, you understand and you use your hardware wallets. But when you come in first, and especially with advances now in technology, and where you can have biometrics and things like that, that there can be an intermediate wallet there that people can use when they come in first, get used to how it all works. And when they want to go further down the rabbit hole, then that's when they start to explore really owning their own keys. But for day-to-day wallets and things like that, it's not just as vital, especially when people are new, because you can scare people off crypto completely if they have a bad experience. And sorry, Deniz, coming back to you now on Paribus. What's the status of Paribus now, or where are you guys at the minute?
Yeah. So Paribus has MVP live on Arbitrum at the moment. So the MVP allows you to borrow against a dynamic interest rate using conventional crypto assets. So that's been live for the last 2 months, and now we're transitioning and sort of pushing out some of the USPs. So next month, this month, now we're in December. This month we're going to be releasing governance on Milkameda itself, because we want it to be cross-chain compatible. So you could potentially vote directly from Cardano using wrap smart contract calls rather than sort of bridging things across. And then on the EVM side, you can just bridge across your PBX stake and then get your governance and then vote on there. Then for the next quarter of the 2024, we have a bunch of major updates coming out. So in January, we plan to release the NFT collaterals. So that's with our off-chain AI-backed valuation service. So we could value NFTs off-chain using AI and then push that price up using our custom Oracle system onto our contracts. And if you could basically borrow against it instantly without having to sort of match peer-to-peer, which is what current platforms do. It's mostly P2P. And then in February, we plan to launch LP collaterals, which is where we see great and deeper collaboration with Blueshift and others as well, who generate and mint LP tokens. And then in March, we have Paribus Pro, which is basically Paribus up till that point with RWA collaterals. But we call it Pro because you have to be KYC AML approved to be able to access that specific liquidity for RWAs. Otherwise, you have to do KYC. And then in April, we are going to be releasing something called market data-driven interest rates. So the current interest rates across DeFi work in a way that, most of it anyway, work in a way where the underlying liquidity pool, once it hits a certain utilization rate, the interest rate will start jumping. But we believe this is quite limited, especially when there's a lot of borrowing activity, and then the platform activity goes down because interest rates are so high, etc. So what we plan to do is we plan to consume a lot of data from markets off-chain, so market sentiment, open interest on leverage trading, funding rates, generic Fed rates, and then we plan to push this into an algorithm and then generate an interest rate and then push that interest rate into our contract, so that rather than sort of just based on utilization, it's actually based on the real world market conditions off-chain. So this is our sort of lineup for the next quarter. In terms of why we partnered up Blueshift, I mean, most of the things have been repeated. Exposure is number one because exposure is key. I think initially when Web3 started and people started building applications, there was a maximalist approach where everyone wanted to be the best chain, best product, and they also close themselves up. But once you get to a certain level of maturity in any market, it becomes apparent that that doesn't work in the long run, because you could only grow so much by yourself, and then you get to a sort of glass ceiling where you have to break through that with others. And I think this approach is, we will now reach that glass ceiling within our specialized environments. Now we have to go across chains and we have to go and fix the liquidity fragmentation issue, which is what I think Blueshift is indirectly doing. When you are able to buy indices on this cross-chain platform, then you're basically having access to multiple projects without having to go back and forth between chains. And of course, liquidity becomes more concentrated in a generic environment rather than sort of like on Cardano, EVM, etc. Which is why we thought it was a great idea to partner up Blueshift, because not only it gives us exposure, it actually allows us to get to that goal where we address liquidity fragmentation and reach a larger audience. And of course, the side product is the LP tokens that will be supported as a collateral on Paribus in the near future. So that's our generic outlook. I mean, I see Blueshift in a similar vibe to what BlackRock ETFs are going to be doing. Obviously not to the same scale because BlackRock is BlackRock, but
they're only popular right now because they're going to give us hopefully ETFs to pump the price. But in general, BlackRock isn't seen that well within crypto.
Yeah,
Who,
yeah, I
who would
agree.
have thought
I agree.
Larry Fink would be pumping our bags? Sorry,
Yeah.
not Larry, not financial advice.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that's true. But it's lowering barriers in general. You know, there's more people getting exposed to crypto, more people getting exposed to Web3. And I think Blueshift is sort of doing the same thing at a smaller scale within the Web3 world. But we need more solutions such as these to lower barriers. I mean, of course, like NEWM and Revuto is bringing these new users. I can't say our main priority as a DeFi platform is user experience, because our main priority is actually some of the features that I mentioned. Once we have those features, then we can start discussing, you know, how can we actually improve the user experience now. And we have plans for that, which will come in Q2, Q3. But in general, I think anything that lowers barriers and exposes people to invest easier is a good solution and should be supported. Because when I look at crypto in general, the way I see it is basically finance plus technology combined together, which is two things that majority of people don't understand. And then now we have a whole new baby that's basically just this mashup of this complex thing. So we need to simplify the whole process to onboard the next billion and the next billion.
Yeah, definitely on the onboarding. And you said a lot of things there that piqued my interest. I love getting into the DeFi side of things. And when I see people trying to do things slightly different, it's something that always interests me. But I'm not going to go too deep into it now. Maybe as we get more towards that, when you're getting towards launching some of that, we can sit down for a deep dive into it. Things there that you talked about, changing away from interest rates coming from supply, on a very high level, supply and demand in terms of the loans and that. I'd be really interested to hear a bit more on that and how you see you talked about a lot of external influences on getting the interest rates there and just seeing how the numbers stack up on that. And the same with you mentioned there about the pricing for the NFTs and taking that offline with AI. Is that doing it that way instead of looking at the marketplaces and looking at the floor price or maybe the best offer? How do you go between that, in that maybe the price that your AI comes up with is different than the current floor or the current floor price? That's another one that I think people overvalue the floor price of an asset. What the real price is what someone's willing to pay for it. It's like you're buying your sell, and what's in the middle, that's what really counts. But where does that come in with the AI and pricing versus floor or best offers for when you're setting up the collateral?
Yeah, so the AI evaluation works through, so we partnered up with 3 firms. One of the biggest is being Upshops. Maybe you guys heard of Upshops. They are AI-backed valuation services as well. And we added our own spice to the algorithm to effectively come up with a number that's within an error rate that we think it's sort of achievable. If we can achieve about 95% accuracy, then I mean that's good enough for us to issue loans. The reason why we did take this approach as opposed to maybe like a TWAP approach or maybe a floor price approach is because we believe relying on a single data point is a recipe for failure, because obviously floor prices can be manipulated very easily. If you hold 1,000 ETH and you go and buy a couple of bases at above the floor price just to take out a loan and then come back and just sort of tank the whole price, then the whole system fails, right? So it's the same with TWAP. I mean, TWAP is somewhat more reliable, but again, it's not foolproof to manipulation. Whereas our API and off-chain AI valuation system is not a one-time sort of valuation where we say, okay, it's worth this much, and then we write it on chain, that's it. We actually have a deviation percentage. So if it deviates from the current price by 5%, then we will revalue the NFT off-chain and then write the value up. So this is continuously consuming data and continuously updating the actual price of the underlying NFT so that the system is never left with bad debt. I think this way, by having reliable valuations, we were able to attach the actual loans to liquidity pools as opposed to peer-to-peer. And by attaching to liquidity pools, of course, it becomes infinitely way more scalable than having to search for one-to-one borrow and lender and match them up on the system.
Okay, yeah, I like that the rate isn't just set in the beginning and then that's what it is. I think I've seen other lending platforms where the rate that you get initially or the valuation you get initially sets it. But you see people just letting loans expire then because the floor price of the asset has actually dropped below the value of what they took out in the loan. And as you mentioned there, bad debt can come into it. And that's a rabbit hole we'll go down another time. I'm conscious of time here, just when there's so many of us. I'm going to go back to Pete to start the close out here on Blueshift. What's next? When can people get access to this index? And what happens if I come in with ADA and I want to get access to it? What happens there? Do I get the individual tokens, or we mentioned the LP, but just to clear that up for people, and I'll let you go through that, Pete.
Sure. So we're just waiting on a couple more pieces from the Milcometer team to be able to launch the index. So once they've finished their work on the upgrade to Milcometer V2 essentially, we'll be able to have the rest of the tokens enabled, and then all the validators will be able to onboard the projects that aren't already on Milcometer, and then we can start the index. So from our side, it's just a little bit more code. We just got to do a little bit of front end stuff. So it's the back end stuff on the chain itself that we're waiting for. So hopefully within 2 weeks' time, before Christmas, we'll see the Cardano startup index up and running and ready, and people will be able to tap into it. In terms of being able to access it, you'll be providing liquidity in terms of we might open it up to 80, I'm not sure yet, but you'd be buying the one of the project tokens and then providing liquidity onto the DEX to get access to it. So that's the general way that we work it. In return, you get the LP token within your wallet, and then you can do whatever you want with it. You can leave it on chain, you can leave it on the DEX, you can stake it, farm it, get extra rewards there, or you can take it back over to the Cardano ecosystem and then use the various DEXs on there and then start trading it and getting liquidity rewards that way. So we've partnered up with Wi-Fi, and we'll probably do another one with the Cardano Startup Index as well, where you'll be able to get farming rewards on their ecosystem and lock in the LP tokens. And then, like I said, eventually when Paribus bridge over our LP token and we start using it on their platform, we'll be able to do DeFi loans there too.
Okay, nice. So it's like traditionally when you get into a liquidity pool, the LP represents your percentage ownership of the LP. So whatever tokens are in there, if I decide at some point I want to, probably a better word than this, but cash in my LP token, do I get back the individual tokens, or what do I get back?
Yep. Okay.
Just for people who might be familiar with how these type of things work.
Yeah, so that is a good point, Paul. So this is something that you need to be aware of. So when you're adding in liquidity to the pool, you're essentially giving that up and then getting the LP token back. So you won't necessarily get your token that you put into the index back again. What the index does, it looks for each one of the tokens has a certain ratio that it's trying to achieve. So if there's 4 tokens in there, then the ratios will be set at 25%. So each of them are trying to reach that equilibrium of 25% of value of that entire index. So if one token such as Revuto is being added too much of, that ratio will be higher, and then the other ones will be lower. So it will more so desire some of the tokens that aren't at that particular ratio. So when you're pulling the tokens out, the DEX will look at those particular ratios and say, okay, at the moment we have an oversupply of maybe Blues tokens within this particular index. It is better for the user to pull out liquidity in that Blues token rather than one of the other project tokens, because the DEX will then put into the transaction price impact in that particular trade. So it would look for those particular aspects, look at the particular ratios that it has, and then decide which is best for that particular user so that they get the optimal return for their LP. You can force the DEX to pull out the token that you want. So if you specifically want NEWM, for example, to come out instead of the Blues token, which we recommend in that example, you can, but there may be price impact involved.
Okay, that was just thinking back to our whole UI and making it easier. That was going to be my next suggestion, but sounds like you have it already, that I can request a token, I presume in the back end where the user doesn't really care. the token comes out in whatever the algorithm figures it should come out, and then that's sold on Blueshift X to get back the token the user wants, is it?
Yeah, that's right. It's all in the UI. We've designed it in a way where you can provide a single token or a group of tokens. So if you have all these project tokens, you can put them all in one single transaction, or you can just use one particular token, whatever is easier for you in those particular situations.
Okay, I see we're not that far off 50 minutes, which is fairly long, but hopefully people got some value, a good introduction to each of the individual projects. I'm going to hand it over to Ichi to, if you have any final words or where people can follow you guys to keep up to date on your projects. And that's about it from me too. So we'll start out with Deniz, work our way around. Everyone watching, thanks very much for watching. Do appreciate it. Share it out, let people know what's going on with Blueshift, what's going on with each of the individual projects, and questions, leave them below and we can follow up at some point then as well. So Deniz, I'll give you the closing thoughts for Paribus.
Sure. I switched cameras, by the way, if you didn't realize. We, as you heard earlier, we have a very busy 5 months ahead. So do come into our Telegram, Discord, and Twitter. Do follow us to keep up with the updates. At the worst case, check it out, give us feedback so we could improve on things. But as always, all the co-founders of Paribus are available on Telegram. So if you have any questions or if you have any concerns, come and join us, and just keep in contact.
Nice one. Thanks for that. And Ryan, your closing thoughts and where people should follow the project to keep up to date?
Yeah, I'm super excited for you guys and what you're doing. I think it's a needed use case, and I'm happy that y'all are tackling it. So thank you. You can follow NEWM on Twitter, Instagram. We have a YouTube channel, Telegram, Discord. We have all the things, NEWM.io. You can also go check out the record store at NEWM.io as well. And then also, if you're an artist or you just happen to be really interested in this, sign up for our email list because we also have stuff that come out through there. So lots of ways to reach us. You can reach me to RyanJones_NEWM at Twitter as well, or anybody from our art team to get anything you'd like.
Nice one. And thanks again for your time too. So Vex, Revuto, closing thoughts on you guys and where's best for people to follow the project?
Yeah, thank you. So are we ever gonna use the name X instead of Twitter? I guess never. So yeah, people can follow us on Discord, Twitter. I would recommend them to jumping into our Telegram channels because that's quite a busy channel. You can ask anything there. Our admins are working there 24/7. And all the basic also things, the Facebook, the LinkedIn, and in the end, go to App Store, Google Play Store, and download the Revuto app, try it out, and be ready for the virtual debit cards to come. It's going to be a great product for you to save some money.
Nice one, thanks for that. Yeah, I currently use the Binance one sometimes, and that's expiring this month, so I'll be on the lookout for a new one fairly soon. But everyone watching, thanks very much, guys, for joining me. Thanks. I appreciate your time, the insights you gave on each of your individual projects. If you guys send me over the links, I'll make sure they're all in the description of this one for people that want to check it out. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching.